One morning, your plant looks completely fine. By evening, a leaf turns yellow. 2 days later, the stems are drooping. And before you realize what's happening, the entire plant is dead. This rapid collapse is the final, fatal stage of a process that likely began weeks earlier. By the time the leaves turn brown or the structure gives out, the infection has already overtaken the plant's internal tissues, roots, or vascular system. A fever is a symptom, not the disease itself. Plants operate under the same logic. Because they cannot speak, they communicate stress through highly specific visual shifts. To keep them alive, we have to stop waiting for obvious damage and learn to translate the subtle whispers they send out long before they fail. Healthy plants maintain a consistent, uniform color across their foliage. Pale green patches, yellow streaks, or uneven fading are the early markers that the plant's internal status has shifted. This shows chlorosis. Older leaves fading to an even yellow means nutrient deficiency, but random, irregular yellow spots with dark centers signal infection. Pathogens leave distinct footprints. Fungi create circular spots. Bacteria look water-soaked. Viruses create distorted mosaics painted onto the leaf. Shifting focus from color to texture reveals even more. Healthy leaves feel structurally firm and smooth. Diseased tissue often becomes soft, wrinkled, or oddly dry long before it dies. Powdery mildew is a master of deception. In the beginning, it appears as tiny, harmless, dusty patches, almost like a dusting of flour. If left alone, it spreads rapidly, blocking photosynthesis and starving the plant. Catching these anomalies early allows you to intercept pathogens while they are still on the surface, before they breach the plant's internal defenses. Zooming out to evaluate the plant's systemic health is equally vital. If growth suddenly stalls during the normal growing season, it indicates an internal blockage or a failure in the nutrient delivery system. As these insects feed, they function as flying syringes, transferring viruses and pathogens directly into the plant's vascular system. Some of the most dangerous failures happen below the soil line. One of the earliest indicators of root disease is a pot that remains wet for an unusually long time. Healthy roots actively pull water from the soil. When damaged by rot, they lose the ability to absorb moisture, leaving soil perpetually saturated. Above ground, these wilting plants look identical, but below the soil, one is parched while the other drowns in stagnant water. Reacting emotionally to a wilting plant by immediately watering it is a common mistake. If the roots are already rotting, adding water will finish the plant off. Always investigate the soil moisture before you act. Serious diseases often take hold because the environment favors them. Fungal spores are perpetually floating in the air, landing on every plant in your home. These spores only multiply into a visible disease when factors like poor airflow or trapped humidity weaken the plant's natural defenses. Compare two identical plants, one with airflow and proper spacing, and the other crowded in stagnant air. The second plant becomes an ideal breeding ground for spores, meaning the disease effectively begins with the environment long before the first spot appears. Expert growers favor constant, low-effort monitoring over reactionary panic. They understand that a few seconds of attention can prevent a week of treatment later. Small interventions have massive consequences. Simply removing a single infected leaf or adjusting a fan can halt a disease before it gains momentum. A 30-second daily observation habit, checking under leaves, inspecting the stem base, and feeling the soil, is the most effective defense you can build. Mastering plant care relies on a learned skill, decoding subtle signals, rather than innate luck. Once you understand what your plants are saying, keeping them thriving becomes a predictable